Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. IPOB, referendum, agitations, military operations. Today we talk to the man at the center of it all. Don't go anywhere and we'll be right back on the Osasu Show. Your Excellency, Executive Governor of Abia State, Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu, welcome to today's program.
Thank you very much.
You've been governor a little over 2 years now. What are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome?
Well, first of all, it was battling with perception, and then trying to lead your people in such a way that it can be all engaging. Everybody can be part of what you are doing going forward, And my experience is that as you keep trying, as you keep doing that, and of course there are so many strategies to devise. We do public engagement. I go on radio at least once every 3 months to do a phoning program in the major cities of Abia State, Abia, and all that. And then my biggest number one promise was that I'll create a platform where everybody can be part of what we're doing going forward. So I needed to also open up a little bit, and engage, So as we make effort to do that, you notice that people deploy propaganda machines, using the social media, using newspaper, all kinds of things. Ranging from things that are completely untrue. People can, set up things and say you were just arrested yesterday, and all of that. And then a lot of people tend to believe all that. Because doomsday prophets seem to gain, more currency than people who say so. But and all that, I engage pensioners, I engage traditional rulers, I engage the civil service, the civil society. As I speak, I'm going to engage students. We're going to sit down in an informal way and talk about where we're going and all that.
The chieftain of the All Progressive Congress in your state begs to differ. He thinks one of the major challenges of your...
You said his name is what?
A chieftain of your the All Progressive Congress, Destiny Ukwana.
Destiny?
Yes, they call him Swaz Destiny. So he stated, and he describes your government, I quote, "His government seems overwhelmed by the problems left behind by his predecessors in office. The baggage is huge. The baggage of his godfather and all the mess he left behind. Cleaning up the mess will take a while. Backlog of unpaid salaries, pension arrears, infrastructural deficit, violent crimes, rural poverty, the list is endless." So what was the state of Abia when you came into office?
The picture that the gentleman painted is the picture of Nigeria. And I was mindful of this situation before I elected to vie. So Abia, like every other state, had problems. And I also do not think that the proper thing for me to do is to begin to dwell on what happened during Ojizo Carlos' regime or Governor T. Oji's regime. My concern should be, what can I do? Because I should have done an analysis. It would be foolhardy on my part to spend the last 2 years talking about what my predecessor did not do.
But some of the actions of your predecessors have also led your current administration into trouble. So, for example, on August 7th, 2017, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja froze the accounts of Abia State, the Paris-London Club refund accounts of Abia State, Delta State, and Cross River States due to allegation of misappropriation of funds and giving family members, friends, and cronies contracts to become consultants between the state and the federal government. We did our investigation and we realized that the contract was given out in 2014 in the administration of your predecessor. So how do you plan to rectify that disconnect?
At any point in time you take over governance and reins of government, you must meet something that's been left by your predecessor. And this is not to say that everything that was done in the past was properly done. And it is not also to say that everything that I'm going to leave, even when I leave office, would be adjudged to be properly done. But
so
I'm saying
was this
that
contract properly executed? Was it did it go through the proper channels?
my concern wasn't even to look at the appropriateness of the contract or otherwise.
Why was that?
Is
it because he was your alleged godfather?
No, there's no godfatherism in Abia State. I do my job. There's one governor, and luckily I have everybody has a predecessor, and my predecessor knows where to draw the line. My concern is why would somebody even clamp on somebody's account without a judgment? Because there was an allegation. And then the fallout of his clamped down on somebody's. So what was the reason? As at that time, the state government hadn't been heard. That's the issue. So I cannot abandon that critical issue and begin to look at, my thing is, what's happening to Abia, my state? A state that God has put under my charge. What should I do under the circumstance? You can imagine how infantile it will look for me to come out and say, oh yes, there's no money in Abia now because something happened in the past and all that. No, that's not the way to go. My record of performance, just like any other person's record of performance, is in public domain, and history and posterity will judge and rate each and every one of us going forward. I would like to appoint myself a judge.
But sticking with the issue of the Paris Club refund, Abia State in the first tranche received...
About 11, the first tranche?
The first tranche.
The second tranche was 5.7.
Okay, the first one was 10.6 and the second one was about
like
5.7. Yes. You're still owing pension. Okay, what have you done with the funds so far?
Well, I want to start by thanking the ICPC for adjudging Abia State as one of the cleanest states in terms of management of both the bailout and Paris Club funds.
That's despite the Federal High Court order.
Which Federal High Court order? The one that
froze, exactly, that froze their accounts.
No. The Federal High Court for that thing can't be a subject of this discussion because that will be prejudice.
So are you saying that the judge, what exactly are you saying about that judgment?
What I'm saying is that the judge, I'm bothered about how a judge can arrive at a judgment without hearing, clamping down on somebody's accounts and all that. Because there was a complaint that somebody says he wanted a certain amount of money to be paid to him as consultant. And we are looking at all the entire gamut of the consultancy imbroglio, quote unquote, around the Paris Club thing. This is one new income or new economy for Nigerians now, Paris Club thing. And so for me, I think it needs to be properly looked at. I wouldn't want to be quoted about the exactitude of the figures to the last digit, but we got 10 point something billion, or about 11 billion, first Paris Club, and we held a discussion with the federal government, and they said, well, could you please dedicate 50% of that to worker salary and all that. And then in Abia State, we set up a committee called the Nigerian Labour Congress, the TUC, the Union of Pensioners, and everybody, and said, we got some money. I went on air in the 3 senatorial districts. I went on air. I said, gentlemen, some money has come. This is the amount, and we're supposed to take this for salary. In fact, in my state at that time, people were calling me Indoseed because I said this money is Indoseed. Don't place any other expectation on this money apart from the fact that we're going to do what is.
So 100% of the Paris Club refund
that is second
was used to pay
second tranche.
Was used to pay salaries.
Second tranche I gave 100%.
And the first one?
I gave 50% plus 600 million.
And what happened to the remaining 50%?
Oh, of course, less than 50 now. It went into infrastructure.
Infrastructure, okay. Can you talk to us more about some of those infrastructure projects and how you've been able to boost your internally generated revenue?
Oh, yes. Starting from infrastructure, we crafted for ourselves a clear plan about how we wanted to develop Abia. And this plan was predicated on a deep study about the things we could do in Abia that other people cannot do properly or cannot do better than us, Abia, you know. So we wanted to do something about our trade and commerce, our industrialization, small-scale manufacturing, our tailoring, shooting, our agriculture, and all that, our oil and gas. We deliberately put oil and gas number 5 because we knew that the oil economy was going to be replaced by something else maybe in the next 10 years. You know, so in doing that, we said, well, you need enablers to drive this, and road was key. We wouldn't believe that in Abia State, since the inception, those who claim that they have done all this and that for Abia, no single flyover in Abia, except the one we are doing now. So we noticed that it would take you 4 hours to move from Osisioma Junction into the city center in Aba. So we needed to do an interchange so that those who were heading to Port Harcourt can go. Of course, before you go beyond Osisioma, you pass 2 other major markets along your way to Port Harcourt. So we needed to create this access. And people are very, very excited that somebody can even take up that kind of thing in an economy that is undergoing recession.
Let's talk briefly about your 5th pillar of development, which is oil and gas. The international community has stated that oil will be obsolete in the next 10, 20 years, which means literally in the next 5 years. So we should look at ways of diversifying our revenue. How important is oil and gas in Abia State, and what are some ways that you're looking at to diversify when oil becomes irrelevant to the international market?
This is the way I am thinking. If you say my crude oil in Abia will be useless in 10 years, yes, but you buy my aerosol, you buy my benzene, you buy my chlorine, all of them are derivatives of whatever. You buy my petroleum ether, which is a solvent.
Is the federal government thinking in line with your suggestions?
Well, I lead the subnational government. I have to think also.
Your Excellency, on that note, let's take a short break, and when we return, more with the Executive Governor of Abia State. Don't go anywhere.
There is a reason Africa is called the new frontier. What was once potential is now an opportunity ready to be seized. Once revered for our resources, today's wealth lies in our people. People who build the cities that shape the future. People who know an idea in one place means business in another. A generation for whom technology means there are no borders, no boundaries. We are the new lions in a brave new world, kings of the urban jungle. And there's a bank that puts the world in our pocket and the future in our hands. UBA, Africa's global bank.
Welcome back to the Osasu Show. Still with me is the Executive Governor of Abia State, Dr. Okezie Victor Ikpeazu. Thank you so much for sitting tight.
Welcome.
Recently, the Southeast Governors Forum prescribed the activities of the indigenous people of Biafra. The military followed suit and labeled them terrorist. Do you agree with this classification?
Well, first of all, I would like you to put the action of the Southeast governors within context. Sometime within this month of September 2017, the military came up with a contraption they called Operation Python Dance, or Egweke, in the Southeast. You know, in the course of that, they encountered you know, those youths who believed in IPOB. And then one thing led to the other. Some soldiers were wounded. You know, people, armored tanks were pelted and all the kind. You know, and then it became expedient for the governors of the Southeast to look at their mandates. My mandate as a governor is to secure life and property. Life and property of not only Abians, but every person that is doing business within the geographical space called Abia State. So I should protect even people who were, as at that time, agitating for an independent state, independent country called Biafra. It was part of my responsibility to protect them. It was also part of my responsibility to protect ordinary Abians who did not believe in that agitation as at that time. But most importantly, I come from a part of this country where the life and safety of your visitor and those who are within your gates is perhaps more important than your own life.
So what you're saying is that this led you to prescribe the activities of IPOB.
No,
but the Senate President did say, Senator Bukola Saraki, in a statement issued on the 18th of September, that the Southeast Governors Forum has no power to prescribe the activities of IPOB.
The Senate President is not from Abia State. He was a governor in Kwara, and he was never confronted with the kind of circumstance I was confronted with.
But he's saying constitutionally.
No. You see, security is something that will lead you into decisions that, because if you want to wait for what you think is constitutionally right or wrong, of course it is not even up to him to say, because he's not the chief CJN of this country. He's a legislator, and the judiciary is there. That is his opinion. We have our opinion. It is the judiciary that will determine between the two of us who is right or wrong. But my duty and my responsibility as at that day was to make sure that I avert bloodshed of monumental proportions.
So do you agree with the military that IPOB is a terrorist group?
The military?
Yes.
Well, I do not even know whether it is the right of the military to say that IPOB is a terrorist group. But if you ask me, if you ask me as a person, well, you know, people make all kinds of agitations across Nigeria. For me as governor, I supported prescription as at that day because we did not want youth to begin to gather in one location or the other under the aegis of IPOB so that they could regroup to probably attack, you know, one group of people. So we needed to hold on that. But then, going forward to say this group is a terrorist group has international consequences, has far-reaching whatever. The information that is available to the federal government is not available to me. And if that is what they have said, it is up to them to defend it. But for me as a person, sitting in my small corner, I can speak like any other Nigerian. Well, we think it is a hasty decision, that shouldn't have been. That's all right. But are we sitting and viewing it all from the prism of the federal government? It's a matter for another day.
But the small corner that you claim to be sitting at is the hotbed of violence now. So why isn't the federal government sharing information with you?
That is also a question which I cannot answer. Because if you have a piece of information that you think is worth your salt and you're a security operative, you have to take a decision, because as the chief executive of my state, it's not everything that comes before me that I share with my wife. It's not everything that comes before me that I share with my ADC.
But what you've just said is that as Chief Security Officer of Abia State, you are not privy to some information that is integral in dealing with the crisis on your hands.
Certainly, yes.
So how do you intend to contend that with the federal government? Because the issue of IPOB cannot be resolved until you get the adequate information needed.
You are interrogating the security architecture of our country as it is now. Because the commissioner doesn't take orders from me. The military doesn't take orders from me. You know, I couldn't have, if the military wanted to visit Kano's house or anybody's house in Abia State, they didn't tell me. I wasn't privy to it. You know, the day they had a letter that they were coming for Operation Python dance that was supposed to start on a Friday, but they decided to test their pieces of equipment by Sunday. And,
so there's no synergy between the state government and the military, the federal government?
No, there is synergy, but what level of synergy? That is what you ask.
It seems like a very poor level of synergy.
It is not,
because you did come out to say that the military was withdrawing its troops from the streets of Abia, and they came out the next day to counter that statement.
No, because if I didn't, if I had some discussions with some military top brass, and we were discussing, and you know, people who were up there, who took me into confidence, were appreciating the moves we were making and the efforts we were making to make sure that we douse the tension. Because what was put out in the social media was far too exaggerated than what the actual situation and circumstance was.
Where is Nnamdi Kanu right now?
Well, it's a question I can answer. I don't know. I don't even think it's a fair question to ask me.
Because Nigerians are asking, so his brother came out the other day asking the Chief of Army Staff, Buratai, to bring his dead body because he's been killed, allegedly.
Has Buratai responded?
He hasn't responded. So we know you're closer to the situation, you're closer to the grassroots, so we're wondering, do you know the whereabouts of Nnamdi Kanu?
I wish I knew. I don't know honesty.
Okay. Simple question. Are the Igbos marginalized?
I thought you would have asked me, do we have instances of marginalization in Nigeria? Yes, people are marginalized.
Are the Igbos marginalized?
Well, I don't think the Igbos are getting a fair deal in this country. But how to go about it is an entirely different thing. Because, come to talk about it, there is no other ethnic group in this country, post-war experience, that believes in one Nigeria than the Igbos.
But do you believe restructuring is the solution to this claim of marginalization?
Discussion, conversation, engagement is the solution. Part of what needs to be on the table for discussion is restructuring.
What does restructuring mean?
Restructuring for me means creating a platform where KB can continue to be the forerunners in rice production in Nigeria. And the mainstay of KB economy will be hinged on rice production. And KB will be able to feed other parts of Nigeria with their KB rice, make enough money to pay their bills, and return something to a weak center. That is my idea of restructuring. So can be said for every state in this country. It will do so many things. One is that we'll begin to reward hard work, pound for pound. there will no longer be a situation where monkey the chop,
baboon
the whack.
Your Excellency, any final words to our viewers?
Well, I strongly believe that we are stronger as one country. I strongly believe that we can all create opportunities that can accommodate the less privileged and those that are most vulnerable in the society. I strongly believe that in this country, as Africans, as Nigerians, we have so much love in our hearts to share to everybody. And if we remember where we're coming from, if we see the future that God has prepared for us, we'll be happier living together.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for your words of wisdom and your time as usual.
Thank you.
That's it for today's program. To watch extended clips from this interview, you can visit our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. Don't forget, for news and sustainable development across Africa and current affairs news, also visit our website, and to read my opinion articles, you can see my personal website, osasuigbinadion.com. Follow us on social media, at TOSTV Network, at The Osasu Show, at Osasu Igbinadion, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. I'll see you same time, same place next week, and until then, take very good care of yourself. God bless you.